Two of Donald Trump's appointees testified before Congress today. One of them defended the Iran war after previously opposing it, and the other defended dueling. Also, Trump wants to do regime change in Cuba. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. As we all know, Trump promised to end foreign wars, but more than that, he promised that the U.S. would stop getting involved in other countries' business.
American forces cannot be the policeman for the entire world. We're all over the world, and a lot of times we're not even appreciated.
The United States cannot afford to be the policeman of the world anymore, folks. We have to rebuild our own country. We are losing billions and billions of dollars. We cannot be the policeman of the world. Our country has never been in more danger of World War III than it is right now. And we don't want to be the world's policeman.
You know, based on how it's gone in recent years, I think the world is probably okay with that, you know? People like the police the most when they arrive after you call them for help. In recent years, we've been showing up uninvited, underprepared, like that Border Patrol agent in Minnesota who slipped and fell on his ass. That's us when we meddle in another country's affairs. We come in hot, fall on our asses, and run away with our tails tucked between our legs while everyone laughs at us. But while we're running away, we act all tough, like we meant to do that. Like our captain said, "Johnson, you go in first. Confirm that ice is slippery." So you heard Trump, we don't want to be the world's police, but when Trump decided he actually really likes blowing things up, MAGA turned on a dime.
I'm not against America being the policeman of the world, but certainly the policeman of the hemisphere, I'm for it.
We live in a world, in the real world, Jake, that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power.
Every once in a while, we got to send a bunch of commandos to kick in your door and drag you into a helicopter in the middle of the night in handcuffs.
We are the dominant predator, quite frankly, force in the Western Hemisphere.
What rules the world and has ruled humanity is the law of the jungle. We rule the jungle. We are the lion.
Got it. They don't want to be the police, they want to be lions, so they're not 13 years old, they're 7. Also, you know what tough guys never do? They never talk tough, because when you do, you sound like you're playing Call of Duty in your parents' basement. I am the lion. I rule the jungle. Actually, lions don't live in jungles. They live in savannas. Shut up, Theodore. Mom, can you bring us down some pizza rolls? That's the new MAGA philosophy, and not just abroad, but here at home. Today, during a hearing to become the next Homeland Security Secretary, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin actually defended dueling.
This was immediately an intense hearing at kickoff between the Republican chairman, Rand Paul, and Senator Markwayne Mullin, dating back to some history the two of them have, specifically as it relates to an attack by Rand Paul's neighbor in 2017.
In 2017, Rand Paul was attacked by one of his constituents, seriously injured. And Mullin at the time made a comment about the fact that he understood why that person might have acted out violently against Rand Paul.
What I was simply pointing out is some of the rules that still apply to this body. For instance, dueling with 2 consenting adults is still there. I was pointing out what is still
illegal for 170 years. There's no precedent for legal dueling.
I don't know which part of that is weirder, that Mark Wayne thought dueling was still legal or that Rand immediately knew it hasn't been legal for 170 years. Okay, nerd. If you challenge Rand to a duel and said name the time and the place, he'd say, I'm not sure about the place, but let's make the time the year 1856 so we don't get arrested. Shut up, Theodore! Mom! Get a move on the pizza rolls! Also, very funny to describe a duel as being between 2 consenting adults. You know, because if only one person consents, that's murder. It's not okay if one guy is just pacing. Why'd you shoot me? You were counting your steps. My Fitbit's broken. Doing it manually. But that's the philosophy of MAGA. Violence and brute force rule the world. They can do whatever they want, which is why even the voices within the administration who were the loudest against war with Iran are now changing their tune, like Tulsi Gabbard, who, when she was running for president as a Democrat in 2019, yeah, I also think that's weird now, said this about Donald Trump.
This president and his chicken hawk cabinet have led us to the brink of war with Iran. This war with Iran would be far more devastating, far more costly than anything that we ever saw in Iraq. This is why it's so important that every one of us, every single American, stand up and say, no war with Iran.
Now, a chicken hawk is someone who goes to war but never served in one. And I just want to say, how dare she call Stephen Miller a chicken hawk when he's clearly way more of a mad scientist who would try to combine a chicken and a hawk. I've taken blood samples from both of the animals, cross-referenced their DNA, and spliced their genes to produce the first ever chicken hawk. Behold. Gabbard was fully against the war with Iran until she started working for Trump. During a hearing today, she even skipped over parts of her written statement that would have undercut the case for Trump's war.
In your printed testimony today on page 6, and your last paragraph on page 6, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. There's been no efforts to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. You omitted that paragraph from your oral opening. Was that because the president had said there was an imminent threat 2 weeks?
No, sir. I recognize that the time was running long, and I skipped through some of the portions
So you chose to take
of my oral delivered remarks.
You chose
sir.
to omit the parts that contradict the president.
First of all, it's on C-SPAN. Feel free to go long. I mean, the next show on the schedule is two dudes in a hallway argue about ethanol subsidies. And even if you were trying to keep it short, you just coincidentally left out the part that would have contradicted the president. Is that why you also chose not to read that part of your statement that says windmills don't cause cancer, and also they're called wind turbines, dumbass? So this is the new MAGA. They lied about ending foreign wars. All they care about is power. They can invade any country they want. First, it was Venezuela. Then it was Iran. Next, it's Cuba.
President Trump has again set his sights on Cuba. New York Times is reporting that President Trump wants Cuba's president to step down. On Monday, Trump suggested that he was open to taking the country over.
We'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. I think Cuba, I don't know, in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week.
Okay, first of all, Cuba is absolutely in a hurricane zone. They've had 11 major hurricanes since 2000, including one in October. Don't do weather reports, okay? You're bad at it. Even the hand movement. Can you imagine this guy doing a local forecast? As you can see, the rain's gonna go this way, and then it's gonna come back this way, and then it's gonna go back this way again. But Trump continued musing about his ambition to invade and conquer Cuba.
All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba.
To prom? To the debutante ball? Why do you talk so weird? I do believe I will have the honor of taking Cuba to cotillion. And if any man gets in my way, I will challenge him to a duel, which is still legal. Also, why do you keep his little hands like this? I'm a tough guy. You don't want to mess with me. I got my two little hands ready to go. In fact, MAGA is already so gung-ho about invading Cuba. You guys, they've already got merch.
I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
The liberation of Cuba is upon us. It's just a matter of time now. You see this hat? Make Iran great.
So you have personalized merch for every country you're invading? Lindsay, are you starting a war or organizing a bachelorette party? You see this hat? It says, make Audrey great again. She's getting married. We're going to Miami for the weekend to celebrate. Even if Meemaw says I'm not allowed to drink because I get fresh, nobody's getting fresh with you old dust bag. Smell like chewing tobacco and Vipo rub. What? Yeah, I would like some pizza rolls. I would. Trump, of course, loves the branding. He also loves when things go boom. On Wednesday, for example, he held up a model of a B-2 bomber, which means he had to take his little hand. He had to hold. If you're wondering how he had him ready to go, and they picked it right up. He picked up a model of a B-2 bomber and bragged about how cool it was. But of course, since he's Trump, he did it in the weirdest possible way.
These gorgeous B-2 bombers. Give me that bomber, Andrews. Let me just hug that little sucker. Give me that bomber over there. Thank you. You knew immediately which one. This looks small, but in person it's very big.
Guessing that's not the first time he said that. I'm sure more than one person has gotten a text from Trump that says, this looks small, but in person it's very big. Also, you don't have to tell us the model is big in person. None of us thought that was actual size. None of us were watching me like, oh, they made the plane too small. They made, it's just a model, it's just a model, okay. We've all had to suffer through years of dumb punditry about how MAGA was actually anti-war. It was all BS. We knew it was BS. We're still in a war with Iran. Trump's already excited about a new war with Cuba. He's showing us how excited he is. Now, you may not think from looking at him that he's excited, but trust me, his excitement
Looks small, but in person it's very big.
has been a closer look.